from the Built Ford Tough studio at FedEx Forum, it's the Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app. Now, here's your host, Gary Parrish.
All right, I'm here. My name is Gary Parrish. I'm speaking to you from Midtown Manhattan, New York City. Bennett Doyle back in Memphis inside the Built Ford Tough studio, FedEx Forum. He's producing the program. Glad he's with me. Glad you're with me. Hope you're getting through the day best you can. And I hope you enjoyed the championship game of the NBA Cup last night. The victors were Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, Doc Rivers, and the Milwaukee Bucks. They made a big scene out in Las Vegas. Also announced changes to the All-Star game. Some people are in favor of it. Others, like Kevin Durant, not so much. We'll talk NBA here in a second. First, though, quickly, let me set today's schedule for you. Chris Vernon is the host of the Chris Vernon Show. Weekdays, noon, Grind City Media. He joins me on Wednesdays. Today's Wednesday. He's going to be with me in about 20 minutes. I'll talk all things NBA with him. When I finish chopping it up with Vernon, we'll take a break, come back, do 5 more things you need to know, at which point we're going to discuss 5 previously undiscussed stories. Among them, Ryan Silverfield's Memphis Tigers won the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl last night. Final score, Memphis 42, West Virginia 37. It represented only the second time in history the program has won 11 games in a season. We'll celebrate another bowl win. We'll do it in about 40 minutes. College basketball's leading candidate for National Player of the Year, Auburn center Johni Broome, suffered a shoulder injury in last night's game. He never returned. Now they wait for an MRI. I'll get you updated on that situation. We'll do it in just a bit. Less than a month after an unsolved murder, perhaps one of our most famous, the JonBenet Ramsey murder, was brought back to national headlines thanks to a Netflix documentary. John Ramsey, the father, says that he has received a letter from a woman saying she knows who is responsible. I'll tell you more about that situation. We'll do it in the third segment. Scotty Scheffler and Roy McIlroy defeated Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau in a made-for-TV golf event yesterday. I thought the whole thing was mostly boring, even for golf fans. I'll tell you why in just a bit. And Tom Holland and Zendaya were photographed at Nordstrom's earlier this week. That's apparently unusual and worthy of a headline at TMZ. They look like a happy couple. I'll share some thoughts during the segment we call 5 more things you need to know. Then we'll eventually do GP's carry out and we'll call it a day. So that's the rundown. We got a whole lot to get to, but I did want to start with the NBA because the second annual NBA Cup, it came to a conclusion last night out in Las Vegas. Final score was Bucks 97, Thunder 81. It was a blowout inside T-Mobile despite closing as a 5.5-point underdog to the team with the best record in the Western Conference. Milwaukee led by as many as 20 and won the game by 16 points. Big Bet Bennett, where were you and your lovely wife and your beautiful children when you watched the Greek Freak raise the NBA Cup for the first time in his legendary career?
I was on the couch, and it was fine. It was I'm happy for them. That was great. They looked happy.
They looked happy. Is it real happiness or manufactured happiness? I do find it hilarious because I think both these things can be true. I do think it matters more than a normal regular season game, and we can get more into that in a second. Like, I do think the intensity is different, and they do care more than they otherwise might care about a random Tuesday night game in December. I also think it is funny when they hold that trophy as if and look at it like they've been dreaming of this moment their whole lives, when in reality this moment didn't exist 2 years ago. I do find that kind of funny.
Do you think that maybe Giannis has won a championship before, right? Like, and we've seen how he celebrated when he won a championship. I wonder if maybe like an email went out or something that's just like, hey guys, if you win, let's make sure we act excited in front of the cameras.
I don't think it's an email because I don't think you'd want that email getting out.
You don't want that email circulating? Yeah, that's fair.
But I do think it's probably
maybe a letter.
with a wink and a nod, like, hey, guys, this is important. We need this to be important. So if you're ever asked if it's important, can you try to say it's really important? Because I did see there was some NBA Cup game on ESPN or TNT, and I want to say it involved the Timberwolves, and Anthony Edwards was the post-game interview, and it was very intentional. It's a little bit like when the NCAA tournament comes to Memphis, and Duke is here, and John Shire's here, and somebody from, ABC 24 or, Action News 5, or who's looking for that clip about how much everybody's enjoying Memphis. They'll get a microphone and they'll be like, hi, Coach Shire, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so. So you guys have been in Memphis for a couple of days for the NCAA tournament. How are you enjoying your time? And they'll go, oh, man, yeah, you ain't never seen nothing like Bill Street. And what an amazing arena this is. And have you ever seen the Ducks? My God. What a wild thing that is, to walk out in a hotel lot and you're just looking for that. Mm-hmm. And then the coaches know you're just looking for that. And so they give it to you. Like, it's a pretty normal thing that happens. That's what the NBA Cup feels like in these post-game interviews. Mm-hmm. They grab Anthony Edwards and they're like, so you got 33 points tonight. It's another win in the NBA Cup. How much more special is it to be able to have these performances on these stages? They're just wanting them to say, oh, my God, it's an NBA Cup game, so it's just a different deal. And sometimes they play along, and then other times they don't. Like Anthony Edwards was like, it's a basketball game. We wanted to win it. So sometimes they don't quite get the memo of what everybody's trying to accomplish here, but other times they do. And I thought last night they clearly did. Like Giannis and Dame both staring at this trophy, like, can you believe this? Can we touch it? Oh, my God, it's an NBA Cup trophy. But I do think more than that, and Giannis really hammered home on this in his post game. Like, this is a step in the process, and we like getting a trophy. And Dame pointed out, yeah, the money might not matter for me and Giannis, maybe a Chris Middleton or a Brook Lopez, but there are guys on this roster who just won $500,000, and that's real money for them. Like, even if you make $2 million a year, if somebody drops just $500,000 on you, that's meaningful money. So it wasn't meaningful money for Giannis. It wasn't meaningful money for Dame, but it was meaningful money for some of the guys on that roster. So you get the intensity level from them raised. And then the other guys, if you're Giannis or Dame, like, hey, I can make my buddy over here an extra $500,000 just by blocking another shot, trying to get another stop. It's all working in that regard. And then I thought, in the post game, Giannis and Dame were both very good, talking about this does mean something, and it's a championship, and all championships are mean something. But more than that, Giannis sort of settled on, and we're getting better, and we have locked in, and we're not the same team that started, I believe, 2-8 on this season. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, because a lot of this, quote, turnaround has been done against inferior opponents. But they did last night go out and overwhelm the projected 1 seed in the Western Conference. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was terrible. Vernon was popping off on Twitter. I thought it was a good night for the NBA. And the truth is, I would not have watched that game, and we would not be talking about that game if it were a normal game on a Tuesday in December, as opposed to an NBA Cup game. And by definition, that suggests this is doing, at least in part, what it is they want to do. They want to make regular season games feel bigger. They want to make regular season games more notable. And the fact that this was on ABC, the fact that I watched it, the fact that we're opening on it, suggests that it accomplishes something. It's maybe not everything they want it to be quite yet, and perhaps it never gets there. Maybe it's just flawed to its core and it'll never be what they imagined. But if you wanted more people than otherwise would to pay attention to an NBA regular season game on a Tuesday night, well, that's the way you do it. You isolate it. You make it for a trophy. You make it for some money. You put it on network television. You take Malika Andrews and everybody else from ESPN out to Las Vegas. You have a set on the court. And, again, it accomplishes something that they're trying to accomplish. The other big NBA news from yesterday, they formally announced it. I think we knew this was coming, but formally announced yesterday They are revamping the All-Star game. In short, we will no longer have an All-Star game as much as we will have an All-Star tournament. And the way it's going to work, you'll have 24 NBA players who are named All-Stars. And then those 24 players are going to be drafted into 3 8-player teams. Then those 3 teams are going to be joined in a 4-team bracket by the winner of the Rising Stars tournament, which is filled with first and second year players. And in this tournament, the semifinals, they'll play to 40. The winners will advance to a championship game. They'll play there till 40. Each player on the winning team will get $125,000. Runners up will get $50,000. If you lose in the semifinals, you're going to get $25,000. I don't know that the money is going to matter as much here, except for maybe to the Rising Stars, because like if you're an all-star, $125,000, probably doesn't matter much to you if you got a $200 million contract or something like that. But still, there's a money component to it. Some people say, hey, it's something new. Let's give it a shot. Kevin Durant trashed it, said he'd rather go back to East-West. Big Bet Bennett, you in favor of this or just another gimmicky thing that will not work?
You literally lost me halfway through describing how that thing's going to work. Like I think, like you talk about doing too much. I feel like this is doing too much. I agree with KD. Like, let's go back to East versus West. I don't think that, whatever the flaws are of the All-Star game, I don't think it's like the format of the game that is the main flaw and the reason that like they're changing this because the ratings are down for that game. Whatever. I don't think by doing this new format, it's going to change people's opinions about the All-Star game or make them care more. You need the players to care more. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this.
Okay. Let's role play. You ready to role play?
Yeah.
Did you think you were going to role play?
No,
on a Wednesday
I'm ready.
morning?
Let's go.
Okay, let's role play a little bit if you're comfortable with it. Are you comfortable role playing?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's role play a little bit. You be Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be Adam Silver.
Okay. What's up, Kamish?
KD, I appreciate your time. I saw you say that you hated this.
Yeah.
What is it that you hate? What is so terrible about this idea?
I don't understand what we're even doing. Like you're gonna have to explain it to me. You're gonna have to explain it to me like I'm 5, Adam.
Okay, here's what we're trying to do. We have television partners that pay a lot of money, for a quote unquote All-Star weekend. It's one of our biggest revenue producers. Obviously, the playoffs is a big deal. Christmas Day is a big deal. Opening night's a big deal. MLK Day is a big deal. But All-Star Weekend is a massive deal for us. Katie, remind me again, what is it you're making playing basketball? Yeah, the main reason you're able to make that is because television partners pay us an incredible amount of money for All-Star Weekend. And the problem we have run into, and you've been in the league a long time and a part of this for a long time, so you'll know what I'm talking about. The problem we've run into is at some point you guys stop playing. You stop trying. You stop caring. To be clear, I understand you want it to go back to East-West. Understand, I never wanted it to not be East-West. I would have loved for it to be East-West. It was East-West for a long time. But then at some point, you guys stopped caring. And when you stopped caring, and 94% of the field goal attempts in an All-Star game were either at the rim or just long three-pointers, and there's no even attempt to stop anybody, and it becomes unwatchable. And when things become unwatchable, people stop watching them. And I got to take telephone calls from television executives saying, if nobody's going to care about this and people are going to stop watching this, we're going to stop paying for this. So I would have loved to have kept it the way we had it, but you guys stopped playing. And now I'm just doing the best I can to come up with something that maybe will resonate with you guys. So, if this ain't it, I hate to hear that. But so far, literally everything we've tried since we told you guys we need you to care hasn't worked. So this is just the latest attempt. But make no mistake, KD, we tried what you wanted. It didn't work in part because of you. You're part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Wow. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. I'm not trying. Am I still KD, by the way?
Yeah. You're still
okay.
KD.
I was losing track there.
No, you're KD for now.
Okay, I'm KD. Adam, I understand that. Commissioner Silver, I understand. the rest of my teammates, they're not even here. They didn't make the All-Star game. They're getting rest right now. I need a little rest. I need a little rest. And I'm not trying to play in a tournament. I'm not trying to play in a tournament All-Star weekend. I'll play in one game. I'm not playing in a tournament.
Okay, KD. Well, first off, really, you need some rest. I think if I went and checked, it looks like you've been resting for much of the past few years. All right. So that's an odd thing to hear that you need more rest. I thought you rested pretty much through your entire time in Brooklyn. All right. But sure, I'll listen to, if you need more rest, fine with me. Here's the thing, dummy. These games
Adam
are shorter.
Silver would never call Kevin Durant dummy.
Here's the thing, KD. I'm sorry, I slipped up. I forgot I was Adam Silver. I turned into Garrett
come
Parrish.
on. Like, you get fired for that.
I forgot I was Adam Silver. I turned into me. Let me get back into character, okay? 3, 2, 1. KD, I understand where you're coming from, but maybe I didn't properly explain it to you. So let me make it clear. I get you're tired. I understand you're tired. I guess you're tired. I guess you're tired of working 32 minutes a day. Okay, I get it. All right. I understand how hard it is to work 32 minutes a day. Okay. But here's the thing. Yeah, in theory, you might be playing multiple games on All-Star Weekend, but they're games to 40. You've been playing games to 220. Okay. So you're not going to be on the court nearly as much as you've been on the court in previous All-Star games. So don't worry, you'll get all your rest. And also, part of the idea behind this is if we create shorter games with smaller rosters, we can get people. We clearly can't get you to care for 48 minutes. We've been trying that. Can we get you to care for 40 points? Can we get you to care for 40 points at a time? Maybe not. Maybe we can't get you to care for one possession. Maybe that's where we're at. We can't get you multi-bazillionaires to care for one possession. All right? But we know we can't get you to care for 48 minutes, so we'll try to get you to care for 40 points. That's the idea behind this. Are you open to that, KD?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Then smile. Then cheer up.
Nothing else
then cheer
to add.
up. You're one of the faces of our league. I need you to cheer up.
I don't know, GP. I'm not KD anymore. I didn't like playing KD. I still don't like it.
Yeah, here's the thing. I've heard other people make this point. I think Jason McIntyre, my buddy at FS1, is part of the reason the NBA is constantly struggling with television ratings and stuff like that is that the people who are most closely connected to it are just shitting on it all the time.
Now that's a good point.
That's a good point. A new All-Star game, and Kevin Durant says, "I hate this. This is stupid." All right.
Yeah.
The Houston Rockets advanced to the quarterfinals or the semifinals of the NBA Cup. And immediately, Charles Barkley's on TV saying the Houston Rockets don't know how to play basketball. They just made the semifinals of the NBA Cup, and you're telling the world they stink. I do think that's not great. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a real part of the issue. I just know it's not great when the Houston Rockets are in the semifinals of this thing we want everybody to care about. And Charles Barkley, who's the biggest voice in your league, says, they stink. They don't know how to play.
They suck.
And then it's like, and we got this new All-Star game. It's revamped. We think you're going to love it. Kevin Durant, one of the all-time greats, is like, this is stupid. I can't believe we're doing this. I don't think it's helpful when every time something happens in the NBA, somebody important in the NBA is there to tell you how it's not important and it stinks and it sucks.
I think that's fair. I mean, listen, like the NFL's up here on its own platform, but you never see anything like that, really. You know, like we'll talk about how the Raiders suck, right? But because they do, but you don't see people killing it all the time. You know what I mean? Like you do see in the NBA. I totally agree with the point.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not going to fault the NBA for trying. They're trying. What they've been doing is not working.
I agree with that.
They've tried to privately beg the players to care. They won't. They've tried to publicly shame the players into caring. It doesn't work. They sit down with them individually and say, tell us what you want. Adam Silver has gone through this. He sat down with the LeBrons and the Stephs and said, tell me what to do. If you guys think I don't understand, you tell me. I'm listening. They said, well, you got to shorten halftime. Okay, fine. You got to shorten the introductions. Cool. You got to make it feel more like the rhythm of a game. So we can't go play a first half, have a 8-song Kanye West concert in the middle, fun as that is, and then come back out and try to play a second half when we've been cold for 45 minutes. Okay, we'll shorten that then. And nothing changes. Then the game starts and nobody plays. So if I'm Adam Silver, and I really enjoyed role-playing as Adam Silver, I might do that again someday.
Cool.
I would just be like, KD, I hear you. I don't know if this will work. This might be just as stupid as you say. But what do you want me to do? I got television networks leaning on me to give them something compelling. And really, I'm not in control of that. I can have all the best ideas in the world. Ultimately, it's up to you guys. I need you and your colleagues to care about this. Nothing we've done so far, including what you are saying we should go back to, has brought us to a place where you guys care.
Yeah, I think
so. This is the next idea. Maybe it won't work, but I can tell you. You tell me, will you care? If you'll care, it'll work. If you won't care, nothing will work. But we'll keep trying until the television networks say, we're not giving you money for this weekend anymore because nobody cares about it. And then that's when you don't get to make $60 million anymore. We're going to have to pay you for the next Kevin Durant will have to make 48 instead of 60 and I'm just making up numbers, but because we're going to lose the value of All-Star Weekend because your generation of players wouldn't prioritize it or make it important.
Yeah, I think that both of these things can be true. Like I'm not a big fan of the new format and changing it up and everything like that. I get that they're trying something and I respect that. But on the flip side, like if we're going to go back to East versus West, like the players have to care. And it's one game. It's one freaking game. Like play hard.
And you can say, well, they don't want to play hard because they don't want to risk injury, but that dismisses the fact that in the offseason, these guys will be at UCLA playing hard every day.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. Or Olympics or whatever. Yeah,
they compete. And the idea that NBA players only compete hard in NBA games is silly. That's not true. They compete in the Olympics. And I'm not comparing the All-Star game to the Olympics, but they compete in the Olympics. Mostly, what I'm saying, they compete at UCLA. They will not get embarrassed at UCLA. Like if you're DeMar DeRozan and you're playing pickup at UCLA, and on the other side is Zach LaVine, if Zach LaVine's giving it to you every possession, you're going to have some pride to you. You're not going to let that happen. If they brought nothing more, if Adam Silver could ever say, bring nothing more but the intensity you bring to UCLA's practice gym, on August 1st, bring nothing more than. However you're going to play on August 1st in your UCLA Open gym, bring that same intensity, and we have it. Then we have something that we can watch. But so far, they haven't been able to get them to even do that. So they'll try this. Will it work? I don't know, but it's worth a shot because every other shot they've taken, hasn't worked. And to continue to do the same thing when it never, ever, ever works, I think they got a saying for that, and you can Google it if you want to. Chris Vernon's up next.
Grizzlies fans, dunks, dimes, and no-looks are great on TV, but nothing compares to catching them IRL. And that starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight in person. From seeing your favorite Grizzly stars up close to hearing the squeak of the sneakers on the hardwood. Put that jersey collection to use and get tickets at Ticketmaster. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside, Memphis.
I want to throw a party just so I can be in control of the aux cord, just so I can force everybody to listen to the Wicked soundtrack. Both of these actresses in Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, I thought it showed how they have experience performing live and on screen, both of them.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Get the squad together for this year's Junior Grizzlies 3-on-3 tournament, presented by 2K at the Built Ford Tough practice facility inside FedEx Forum. On Saturday, January 4th, teams will compete in 3 games before advancing to single elimination play. Overall winners from the 10 and under, 12 and under, and 14 and under divisions will win Grizzlies tickets, including exclusive access to the pregame team shoot-around before the Grizz take on the Pelicans January 24th. Sign up today at hoopitup.com/Grizzlies.
Grizzlies are just having fun out there tonight. Morant around a screen, bumped by Bakker. No look to Smart, lays it up on the window and in, and it is all Grizz. Grizzlies have the fans on their feet at FedEx Forum.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering. To those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st. And you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Presented by Ortho South. I'm in New York City. Bennett Doyle back in the Bill Ford Tough Studio, FedEx Forum, producing the program. And Chris Vernon is the host of the Chris Vernon Show, weekdays noon, Grind City Media. He joins me on Wednesdays. Today is Wednesday. He's here right now. Chris Vernon, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
Oh man, you look like you was having a party on social media last night. You were finding joy in other people's misery.
I mean, look, I came on your show last week and said what I said. And so did I take great delight in the fact that I was watching once again everybody crown the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have beaten one rat playoff team in a series and then lost to Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington. Did I take joy in watching them have the second worst offensive game of the entire NBA season? Did I take joy in Giannis Antetokounmpo throwing Isaiah Hartenstein into the stanchion at 4-0 and then dunking? I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. That was fun. That was a fun night. Oh, wow.
There were points in that game where Giannis just looked like he was a grown man playing against not grown men.
Oh, yes. I mean, I just saw a meme. It said, everybody thinks they're tough and physical till 34 comes to town. And then it was just like this highlight reel of him just bullying everybody on that team.
He was so outrageous, it made me like just go to YouTube and find the old Anthony Edwards clip of him talking about having to stop Giannis. I was so
9 foot tall.
Yeah. He was like, I just was like, this is ridiculous. And I was like, I think Anthony Edwards said something about this one time, and I went and found that. And it's just true. Like, when that guy's going, there's nothing you can do with him.
Oh, and it's just, I mean, again, I got a little worn out with it. It's not that, look, they're a fantastic team, Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. It's the rush to make them, there's them, and then there's everybody else.
Right.
And I've never bought that. I've never bought it. I've never bought that it's them and then everybody else. They're a fantastic team. But you saw last night, like literally all of their flaws came out. All of them in one moment, in one game.
The argument against them is obvious. They're very young. They haven't taken their battle scars in the postseason the way most franchises have to. You know, whether it's Michael Jordan or LeBron James, like it doesn't happen for you quickly. And I'm not even insisting that it is. I'm asking, are the Warriors an example to the contrary? Didn't they kind of break through without really taking their battle scars? It's like
no. They for sure took their scars,
us, right?
No. But the Warriors took their scars early. I mean, and then they got rid of Mark Jackson, and then Steve Kerr took over. And I mean, but it still took a while. They lost
but they didn't go from like.
Oh, they lost multiple series before they ever won.
Right, but it felt like to me it wasn't like everybody thinks they might do it and then they didn't and then they didn't and then they didn't and then they finally did. It was like, I don't think they're ready. I don't think they're good enough. And then boom, they made a coaching change and it was like, oh God, they're great. And then they just won the whole thing and then the dynasty started.
Yeah, I mean, the better example I think is probably like the first Oklahoma City, and they even lost in the playoffs beforehand, right? And that was a very young team. Like that's the last like really young team that we had that made the finals, and that was the Westbrook, Durant, Harden team. but everybody takes their lumps. Everybody takes their lumps, right? And everybody gets game planned against over the course of a 7-game series. And, you know, and like I said, like they're the cool new thing. And so to see them get just absolutely, totally humiliated on national television was fun.
Yeah, because Jalen Williams was 1 of 4 from 3. Shea ended up 8 of 24 from the field.
He was awful.
2 of 9 from 3. He had, I believe, 3 turnovers. It was just bad. Like I think you put this on Twitter. Unless they just get that late jumper, that's the lowest offensive point total of the season for any team in the NBA.
Any team.
Right.
Any team in any game. And this was the highest stakes regular season game that we have last night. I mean, it was just, that was men. The Bucks are men. Seriously. Men. And look, there have been a bunch of times where the Grizzlies have gotten in that situation. We saw it in that playoff series against the Lakers. It's like, bro, these are men. You know what I mean? We look like kids compared to these guys. These guys have, like, you know, grown man strength.
I know you were skeptical that they had figured something out because it was in some way schedule induced.
Yeah.
Does what happened in Las Vegas change your mind at all?
Yes, it changes my mind. Yes. I mean, look, history will tell you, you go into a series and they've lost him to injury, you know, the last couple of years, but you go into a series and you could sit back and you go, do I have the best player on the floor? I mean, and the answer in most cases, I mean, when he is dominant, bro.
Right.
Dominant. One of those where you could have 4 guys play off of him, and obviously one of those 4 is Damian Lillard. I still think that they have some weaknesses. I do think that their inability to guard guys on the perimeter, you know, it could very well show up. But that's where the whole Jalen Williams thing, that's why is getting beat up over last night. Because it's like, who's the other guy, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is struggling. Who's that other guy? And in Giannis's case, you could say, like, he never struggles. When does he struggle? But on the night that you need somebody to really pop off, he's got Lillard running alongside him. So you saw when Gilgeous-Alexander was struggling last night, who else did they have? Who's the guy? And I think that's been one of the great things about what's happened with the Grizzlies. Despite the fact that Bane has been nothing like himself, there's a real, like, Ja Morant doesn't have to close everything. In fact, in the biggest game that they've played recently, when they played at Boston, Jaren closed that thing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Jaren closed it. Like, the last 10 minutes were Jaren's. And it's like, okay, now you've got a second guy. Like, if one guy isn't playing all that well, then you got, even in LA the other night, Jaren's the only thing that kept him in the game, right? He's been the most consistent guy on the Grizzlies, but I mean, Ja was pitiful in that game. But it wasn't like, oh, Ja's pitiful, so now that puts a spotlight on the fact that you don't have anything else that can go big for you. And I think that's what one of the takeaways was from a lot of people last night. It was, they loaded up, but Gilgeous-Alexander wasn't any good. Okay, who's going to be the guy that when he's not that good? And, you know, it's a little early for Jalen Williams.
Not that Chet Holmgren is a closer, but OKC fans would point out we're missing perhaps our second best player.
I understand, but, I mean, I don't think Chet's not at that point yet.
Right.
Where he's like, all right, I'm taking over this game.
Right.
He got manhandled in the playoffs. Manhandled. Couldn't get a rebound. He averaged 3 rebounds. I mean, he couldn't get a rebound again when it came to the playoff time. And I love Chet, but I mean, Chet's at that trajectory too, right? It's almost like second year Jaren. And it's like, but they've already been crowned. Chet's now, you would think he's in the Hall of Fame. Jalen Williams. I saw Jalen Williams in an article with the name, I swear to God, Oklahoma City Scottie Pippen. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. What are we doing? What are we doing?
I can appreciate how far you went out there with it, man, because I was It gets lonely in these hotel rooms sometimes, but I found joy in just reading your mentions last night.
It was all. Oh, I got cursed out. I loved it.
Oh, by Thunder fans?
It was
Give me a break.
Oh, just everybody.
Gives a crap.
Just everybody.
Oh, there was somebody called MAGA Elvis. It was just like, if you shut the F up, Chris Vernon show.
Yeah, I got a lot of that.
MAGA Elvis was on your ass.
Oh, yeah. Devin sent me one he got this morning. Even Devin caught heat because he called him, what did he call? He called him fake genuine or Canadian genuine or something.
That too. I love that.
They were like, why are all these Memphis fans such OKC? We want all the smoke. We're trying to start. We ain't got no rivals. I'm just tired of them, man.
What is the downfall of the organization?
So good.
It's like Ja and Jaren finally learned to calm down a little bit, and now it's Grind City Media just popping off nonstop.
We're the ones trying to create two teams that are so buttoned up now, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to act like the Spurs, and here we are popping off.
You let them get in the playoff series.
We'll be in a first-round series with the Lakers, and then LeBron will be like, they got Dylan Brooks out of there, and Ja and Jaren seem to have matured, but it's the little guy who does the Masters updates. He's the one that won't shut up.
Tired of him. You tired of him. It was a great. You know what? It was such a weird Tuesday for me to be from 5 o'clock on. I mean, I was planted with, and then I'm having to make TV decisions. So I have 2 TVs so that I can watch 2 things at once. But I had that dreadful golf showdown on. I mean, it was terrible. I was so excited for that, and it was terrible. Just nothing about it was good, and it highlighted the fact that these are 4 of the most boring people on earth. Yes. I'm like, I'd rather watch Bryson's YouTube than this. And by the way, he became totally unlikable again. It took one showdown. He's wearing this big ass puffer jacket, and it's 50 degrees. He took his earpiece out, so he didn't have to. He can't make a putt, and there's no chummy back and forth. There's no trash talking. It was just awful.
You've got, and I'm glad you said that because you and I didn't talk about this, I don't think, in our text at all, but I have it in 5 more things. I was bored out of my mind. I turned it on. I was like, these are 4 of the best golfers in the world in one of my favorite cities in the world with Charles Barkley on a microphone. If you've lost me, you've got nobody.
No.
If you've lost me, you've got nobody.
And then, I mean, I honestly, I couldn't wait because at 7:30, then that Bucks Thunder game came on. And then, of course, at 8 o'clock, the Tigers came on. So I couldn't wait for both of those to come on. I'm like, get this off of my TV. This is awful. I can't watch this anymore.
So let me ask you,
because it was such a letdown. I was I really wanted to watch that.
I was settled in and turned it on, and I was like, let's go. And I was like, maybe it'll pick up. Maybe nothing. It was just nothing to the very end. Absolutely nothing.
The only thing I remember from it, non-golf, conversation wise, was Scotty Scheffler asking Rory McIlroy what he's drinking, and then they get in this discussion about creatine. And I was like, this is the most interesting thing that's happening. I mean, it
was bad. It was bad. It was bad. Last thing before I get you out of here, they have formally announced changes to the All-Star game. Kevin Durant immediately said, I hate everything about this. I hate everything about it.
Of course he does.
On one hand, if I'm Adam Silver, I'm like, get it, but what do you guys want me to do? People pay a lot of money for this. This is one of our biggest inventory items that allows you guys to make $60 million a year. You won't care about it. You won't even try. So we're trying something new. Maybe it won't work, but my God, everything we've tried so far won't work, and it always won't work because you guys won't care. What do you do?
I mean, my opinion has always been that he needs to rule with more of an iron fist.
Right.
I mean,
right.
He's a players commissioner. That's what he is. And a lot of times then he gets taken advantage of. He walked in there and asked them to play hard last year because he was going to be sitting next to Amazon execs and NBC execs and everything else. And they made the biggest mockery of it ever. Ever.
Yeah.
And he was so mad giving out that MVP trophy. You know, it was like 200 and something to 200. I mean, they made the biggest mockery ever of it after he asked them nicely. So, I mean, to me, like, that's one of those where I think that the cat isn't out of the bag. The cat's out of the bag, and he's run 6 miles down the road. You know, they just don't pay him any mind. They don't pay him any mind, right? Don't pay him any mind. The only time the guy ever ruled with an iron fist is when JonBenet went on Instagram. It's literally the only time.
It's so true.
It's literally the only time.
It takes Donald Sterling being caught on tape being a racist.
Yes.
Or JonBenet jumping on Instagram for Adam Silver to get real fired up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would just say, like, you get what you get. And, like, look, part of it is if I were Adam Silver, you know, and I know you were saying, what do you guys want me to do, right? Like, you know, we want you to get behind this, and they do every once in a while, like behind the scenes, they will jump on somebody, because this was not a story at all yesterday. But I read this article about how Steve Kerr apologized for his rant after the game, after their game against Houston, where he went and said, you know, that foul got called, you know, blah blah blah, 90 feet from the basket, and there's little league games that wouldn't get called in. You remember he was like, this is deplorable and whatever else. He apologized for that whole thing and apologized to Bill Kennedy and the league absolutely called him, and it's like, bro, shut up, right, and they apologize. So, like, they do every once in a while jump on people for doing things, but I mean, like, I do think that there's something to that, where it's like, what you don't want is one of your big stars, who is a presumptive all-star, coming out and saying this is stupid.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's just.
I mean, think of Grind City. Think of Grind City Media.
That's just business 101, right? Yeah.
Think of Grind City Media announced a new show, and immediately Chris Vernon said, "I think this is the dumbest thing in the world."
I mean, I would immediately get a phone call.
Yes.
Immediately. Like, bro, what's your problem?
Right. Why are you doing this?
What is your problem? Why? Like, we're pulling the same rope.
You could say nothing. I'm not making you be enthusiastic about something you don't care about, but you could say nothing.
Right. Yeah. And it just constantly. It's constantly like that. Like when you were saying, anytime there's like a new idea. You remember there's the famous one, which everybody mocks every year because they're always in the play-in, where LeBron said whoever came up with the play-in should be fired.
Right.
And then they were in the play-in.
Right.
Like,
play-in legends.
Yeah, right.
At this point.
Right. They're in the play-in like 3 out of 4 years or something. But I mean, they come up with that idea, which has been great and has made the last part of the season much, much better by any calculation. It's been much better and has been much more fun. But the biggest star in the whole game said whoever came up with this should be fired.
Right. Imagine how, if you're Adam Silver, like, imagine if you're working with somebody with the same goal in mind, and you're like, okay, hey guys, we have a real problem here. We have to fix it. And the other people that you're working with offer no ideas, offer no solutions whatsoever. And then every time you come up with a solution, they're like, well, that's stupid. Well, at least I'm thinking, I'm trying. You're giving me nothing.
Well, so in your example, the reason that would happen if we announced the show or whatever, and then I was like, this is stupid, right? I don't agree with this, right? And I'd immediately get called because, like, there's a boss. There's somebody that, like, has more power than me. And it's like somewhere along the way, that transferred. David Stern, for his faults, there's no question he was the boss.
Right.
And it does feel like in many cases the players get to run the show.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that's why it's like, what are you going to do to me? What are you going to do to me?
Yeah, I don't think it changes until the salary cap goes down. Until revenue goes down, and then your max contracts aren't what they used to be. That's when the money gets messed up. That's when it changes.
Yeah, maybe.
Till then, it is what it is. All right, get over to the big studio. I'll see you later. That's Chris Vernon. Chris Vernon show starts at noon. When we come back, turn our attention to Tiger football. Congrats to Ryan Silverfield's program. Go Tigers, go! They won the Coffee Bowl last night in Frisco, Texas. 42-37 the final score. 11-2. That's the record. They should finish in the AP poll after not starting in the AP poll. So at least by one measuring stick, actually overachieved relative to preseason expectations, but it's more complicated than that. We'll talk through it next. Gary Parrish Show presented by Ortho South.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
ESPN put out a list. Top 30 best pro wrestlers under 30 in the world today. Number 1, Dirty Dom. Number 2, MJF.
I think Dom is deserving to be number 1. I think he is probably, like I said, one of the greatest heels in the last 10, 15 years. Like you said, he can't talk on the microphone.
The fans love it because they feel like they're a part of the show.
And that's the best.
Without their booze, he's not the best heel.
Tune in to Grind City Wrestling weekly on the Grind City Media app and on the Grind City Media YouTube channel.
This month's 191 Collabs, presented by Hennessy, is bringing Grizz Nation an all-star matchup it won't want to miss. Renowned fashion designer Prep Curry and Grizzlies forward Jaren Jackson Jr. have teamed up for a 6-piece collection that's as eclectic and unique as the city they both call home. These limited edition threads won't last long and are only available on FedEx Forum Thursday, December 19th, when the Grizzlies take on the Golden State Warriors at 7 o'clock. Buy your tickets today at Ticketmaster.com or the FedEx Forum box office.
Hoop on the Grizzlies home court at Junior Grizzlies Game Day Clinics presented by Ortho South. Clinics are open to kids ages 6 to 14 and last 60 minutes. The next clinic tips off December 23rd, the same day the Grizzlies play the Clippers. All skill levels are welcome, from beginner to competitive athlete. Sign up now before spots sell out at grizzlies.com/Junior Grizzlies. Registration includes a Junior Grizzlies t-shirt and 2 tickets to the game that day.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
Orthopedic injuries can be unpredictable, unforeseen, and unscheduled, and Ortho South understands this better than anyone. Since your injuries don't make appointments, you don't need to either, and that's because Ortho South welcomes walk-ins during the weekdays, in the evenings, and even on Saturday. So next time an unforeseen injury makes an unscheduled appearance in your life, visit orthosouth.org to find your nearest urgent care location. Just walk in, and Ortho South will take care of everything, especially you. Learn more at orthosouth.org. That's OrthoSouth at orthosouth.org. Now I got 5 more things you need to know.
Number 1.
Final score, Memphis 42, West Virginia 37 in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. So that's it. 4 straight bowl wins for your University of Memphis Tigers. They finished the season 11-2, and given that they were ranked right now 25th in the AP poll, it is reasonable to assume they will finish in the AP poll after not starting the season in the AP poll. Bennett, let me frame it this way. I know I framed it another way before, but what if I frame it this way? University of Memphis football program was unranked in the AP poll to start the season. Now the entire season is over for the University of Memphis football program. And as long as AP voters don't do anything goofy, the Tigers are going to remain in the AP poll. They're 25th right now. They could stay there or move up, but they should be in the AP poll, the final version. So if a team doesn't start in the AP poll but finishes in the AP poll, is that not overachieving on some level? Bennett, argue.
I mean, I don't want to argue because I was very happy with it, and no, I mean, I do think that's in a sense overachieving. Yes, you start the season unranked, finish the season ranked. Yeah, that, I mean, how else could you qualify that. It was cool last night, man. That was a lot of fun. Ryan got his coffee bath. I was hoping for that. He's undefeated in bowl games. Like, I know that some of them have been, against inferior opponents, whatever. But he's undefeated in bowl games. Seth Hennigan goes out with a bang. Like, he finishes his career first in passing yards, first in passing touchdowns, first in pass completions. So he broke a lot of records in his time at Memphis. I obviously wish he could have gotten a conference championship. I know he wishes that. I know his coach wishes that. But overall, I'm feeling positive heading into this offseason. And frankly, I'm feeling positive about Ryan, just to be completely honest. Again, undefeated in bowl games. And, I think these back-to-back against Big 12 opponents, I think it's very important for Memphis football to stay consistently good these next couple years. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. And with conference realignment being where it is now, and we expect that, I'm sure, more dominoes will fall over the next year or two, Memphis needs to be in a good place in football, and they are there right now. And I think he's the right guy for that job right now. He's doing a good job recruiting. So I was pleased with how the season went. It's kind of funny how it, you get those losses to Navy and to UTSA like early on and in the middle of the season, and obviously you're down after that. But I think the way that they finished should be commended. So I was happy with everything yesterday.
21-5 over the past 2 seasons, with 3 victories over Power 5 schools in less than a calendar year, including 2 bowl wins over Big 12 programs. When you frame it like that, it sounds really good.
It does.
This is one of those things, I'm just telling you.
And framing's important. You know that. In conference realignment, framing is one of the most important things.
If you told me right now to make a compelling argument that Ryan Silverfield is the greatest group of 5 coach in the country, I could do it convincingly, right? Mm-hmm. But if you told me right now, okay, then counter-argue your own point and make me understand why Memphis fans should still be disappointed, I could do that too. Mm-hmm. I could do both of those things very easily. They're not hard to do. And that's why this is a complicated thing to talk about, because it is the type of thing that I promise you, unless you're a Memphis football fan or somebody who really lives and dies with Memphis sports, you look at this and go, what are they upset about again? Mm. They just went 11-2. They're going to be ranked in the top 25, and they just won a bowl game over a Big 12 school. What are they mad about in Memphis again? So they're 21-5 over the past 2 years. They just had a 4-year starting quarterback, same dude. That never happens anymore.
Yeah.
So they have consistency at the most important position. Their coach has never lost a bowl game. He just won 11 games for the second time in program history. He's 21-5 the past 2 years. And in the past calendar year, he's beaten 3 Power 4 programs, including 2 Big 12 teams in bowl games. What?
Yeah, and
they should be fighting to keep that guy, not wondering why he's still the coach. But you dig a little deeper, and you can understand where the source of frustration is.
Yeah, and the simple answer is, well, they've never competed for a conference championship in a crappy league. That's the simple answer.
Right. Yeah. You want to do? Okay, that's great. GP 21-5 past 2 years. How many games did they really win that they weren't supposed to win? All right. Now tell me, how many games did they lose that they weren't supposed to lose? All right. Those bowl wins, those are great. But you want me to be excited about victories over Florida Atlantic, Utah State, and a West Virginia team that had an interim coach? I guess the Iowa State one was pretty good.
We'll
take that. But the other ones, like, what does that really mean? And, oh, by the way, when you're predicted to finish first in the AAC and you don't even make the AAC title game, I don't need to know anything else. You've underachieved. You've disappointed me. Like, that's compelling, too. I could argue this either way, and I could make you believe me either way. And that's why I don't strongly believe either thing. Because I can make compelling arguments in either direction. This season has been a disappointment relative to preseason expectations, but only in one very important, and I would argue the most important aspect, the conference championship aspect. You didn't even get to play in the game. That means you failed. All right? But you weren't supposed to be a top 25 team, and you are going to finish the season as one. Like, that's not nothing. As I tweeted last night, that's not nothing. It's not what you wanted. It's not perfect. It's not nothing. And so the question then becomes, well, then how do you ever, if this ain't good enough, how do you ever do good enough? Because the margin for error is obviously very small. Do you know how hard it is? Because on one hand, people go, well, you're in a league where you're the best team. You should just win all these games. And I get it. But like in sports, it's not easy to do something without ever messing up, regardless of how good you are at it or how well you're supposed to do this thing. My favorite example of this, because this is what you would tell Ryan Silverfield when he's sitting there and sipping a cup of coffee going, I went 21-5 the past 2 years, 11-2 this season, have beaten 3 Power 4 programs in the past calendar year, and people still are upset. What you would tell Ryan is, well, the reason is because you've got the best NIL situation in your league. That means you're supposed to win your league. Remember when John Calipari was supposed to win Conference USA every year, and if he didn't, it was a failure? Well, that's kind of where you're at now. It's not quite that dramatic, but you're running. You should have the best program in your league. You've got the most resources in your league, and so when you don't even get to play in your conference championship game, you've fallen short. And you know what he would say? But GP, I hear you. Name me all the football teams this year that didn't lose a game they weren't supposed to lose. Do you know how hard that is to do?
Yeah, it's true. It's fair.
Like good. Congratulations, Oregon. You did it. But just about every team in the college football playoff lost games they weren't supposed to lose. Tennessee did it. Ohio State did it. You go look yourself. You know how hard it is to never lose a game you're not supposed to lose. So I get it. That's the standard you want to hold me to. I get it. But that's a hard standard. I guess I got to do better. And he's acknowledged that. And whether he's doing it with his tongue in his cheek or not, with a wink or not, I don't really care. He's acknowledged it. That's good enough for me. He has said multiple times over the past week, I'm proud of what we've done, but I understand it's not enough. He said that. And I don't know that he genuinely believes it as much as his detractors genuinely believe it, but I can appreciate him at least acknowledging it and not fighting it as much as another guy might. All right. You gotta, when you're picked to win a league, you need to compete for league championships. By definition, they didn't do that this season. That's a problem. But here's the thing I always go back to, because this is the best way it's ever been illustrated to me. And it's a little bit apples to oranges, but I do think it illustrates a point. You look at Memphis's AAC schedule, and you know, they did win at Florida State when they were an underdog, win at Tulane when they were an underdog, but then they gave that back with the 2 losses when they were favorites, and that's how you end up not even playing in your conference championship game. Honestly, they just lost the wrong games. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And so you say, okay, that's fine, but if you'd have just won the games you were supposed to win, this could have all turned out differently. And so what you're asking them to do then, really, is in a 13-game schedule, I believe they were favored in 11 of these games. And they ended up winning 11 games. They just didn't win the right ones. But what they needed to do clearly is, if you were going to win 2 games that you weren't supposed to win and still try to get where you wanted to go, you needed to then lose fewer games that you weren't supposed to lose. So you needed to not lose the Navy, the San Antonio thing, right? So that means you needed to just keep beating the teams without exception that you were supposed to beat. Sounds easy. It's much harder over a course of a season than you think it is. And the best way to illustrate this that anybody's ever put it to me is Steph Curry at the free throw line. Think about it in these terms. Forget football for a second, but think of Memphis football as Steph Curry stepping to the free throw line. Memphis football going through the AAC schedule is Steph Curry stepping to the free throw line. Every time you've ever seen Steph Curry step to the free throw line, Bennett, what do you think is about to happen?
He's going to make a free throw.
What do you think should happen? Like statistically, what should happen?
He's going to make a free throw.
Like if you had a stack of $100 bills and they said, Bennett, we could sit here all day. Steph is going to shoot free throws all day. After every one, he's going to get a new ball, and then I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, put your $100 down. Is he going to make this or not make this? Every time, what are you going to say?
He's going to make it.
Okay. You know what the truth is? He's going to miss about 1 out of every 10 of them. He just is. It won't mean that he sucks or that it just means that this is the way this type of stuff works. Even when you're supposed to do something right, succeed at it every time, you're still not going to do it. Almost nobody does. Congratulations to Oregon. They did it. But almost nobody does that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost nobody can just not mess up. Even Steph Curry, if you give him 10 balls, he's going to miss one of the 10. That's what his lifelong free throw percentages show, more or less. The greatest shooter who has ever lived is still going to slip up every once in a while. So if you can recognize, and this would be the point, that it is totally reasonable, even expected, for Steph Curry to miss 1 out of every 10 free throws, why can't you apply that same logic to Ryan Silverfield and say, hey, even if he's supposed to win 10 of these games, same way Steph Curry going to miss a free throw every once in a while, he's going to miss one of these every once in a while. Mm-hmm. That's the way sports works. Can you subscribe to that? Or shut up and just get to the championship game?
I mean, listen, I still think that he needs to do that. But like I said previously, they're in a good spot. They're in a good spot right now, and that's what I want for Memphis football right now. I mean, again, I want to get the hell out of the AAC. That is my priority number one as a Memphis fan, and being in a good spot in football, which they are right now, that's going to be the way to do it, or one of the ways to do it. So, yeah, I still, again, he needs to compete for a conference championship. Sure. He does. Like he's got a tons of great resources. Obviously, with the NIL money that they have to spread around. So yeah, you got to be able to do that. And it sounds like he's at. Listen, he's talking to the. We saw the report that he's talking to the transfer from UNLV, the transfer quarterback. So he's out there working, and hopefully he's able to have another really good team next season. I'm
not telling any Memphis fan not to be disappointed after being picked to win the AAC and not even playing in the AAC title game. I understand the disappointment. If you've listened to this show throughout the season, I've expressed the same disappointment. But it's okay to acknowledge it could be worse, way worse. This is a program that is historically never supposed to even sniff top 25 stuff.
Right.
And they're going to finish the season in the top 25. This is a program that only once before it ever won 11 games. And I know a lot of it is because of the schedule, but still, facts are facts. They just went 11-2. This is a program that didn't even go to a bowl game for like a million years throughout my childhood. Now they just win every bowl game they go to. You know? Yeah. It's in a better place. You could reasonably argue, outside of the tip top of the Mike Norvell era, it is in a better place, or as good of a place this program is, as it's been in a long, long time, perhaps ever. And even if it did fall short of expectations in some regards this season, a lot of good stuff did also happen this season. And the last thing was among them, a victory over another Big 12 program in a bowl game that resulted in a coffee bath. Congrats to Ryan Silverfield and everybody else attached to that program.
Number 2.
Injury news in college basketball last night that could actually impact the University of Memphis. Jani Broome, Auburn's best player and the leading candidate for National Player of the Year, had to leave the game barely 2 minutes in with a shoulder injury. MRI coming today. They're hopeful it's not serious, but you won't know till you get the imaging back. But it's just a reminder on some levels how delicate all this stuff is in college basketball. We've seen national championship hopes be derailed by an injury. Most famously, I think Cincinnati under Bob Huggins, when Kenyon Martin broke his leg in the pyramid in the conference tournament. If not for that, most people believe Cincinnati would have won the 2000 NCAA tournament. And just think about all the ways that changes history. Bob Huggins would be the national championship coach. You know who wouldn't be? Tom Izzo. Because that's the year Izzo won his only national championship. I asked Hugs one time, I said, man, do you ever sit around and just think about, like, what if Kenyon Martin doesn't break his leg in the pyramid? Like, what would have happened? I said, you ever sit around and think about that? You know what he said? And this is Hugs just talking. Hugs is very monotone when you talk to him in person. It's a lot like this, and he just sort of talks like this. If all you've ever done is watch him on television scream and yell, and you sit down with him on a couch, He just sort of talks very slow and very soft. And so I'm like, Hugs, you ever think about that? Like I think I was there. And Kenyon Martin, the best player in the country, National Player of the Year, breaks his leg in the tournament. And Cincinnati, which was clearly the best team in the country that year, gets eliminated short of the Final Four. I asked Hugs, I said, you ever wonder what happens if that doesn't happen? And he goes, no. I said, really? Because that's wild. I've wondered about it. You've never really wondered about it. He said, no. He said, I don't have to wonder. I know what would have happened. I said, what would have happened? He said, we would have won the national championship. That guy would not have let us loose. I would have won a national championship. We would have had a national championship. So these things not only can change lives, they can change the course of history of a sport. If Cincinnati wins the 2000 NCAA tournament, then Tom Izzo and Michigan State can't. That changes Tom's legacy. I'm not saying this is that, but the leading candidate by far for National Player of the Year last night had to leave a game after 2 minutes. And return to the court, but not to the game. Just sat on the bench in a sling. And because he'd have been better off not playing as opposed to playing 2 minutes, because basketball is such a per game averages sport. Like in baseball, when you're watching a baseball game, they flash numbers up on the screen, and it's your season average, it's your season home runs, it's your season RBI, these basic numbers. Now, the nerds will dive into all sorts of other stuff, but just the basic stuff when you and I are watching a baseball game, it'll say Francisco Lindor's hitting 286, 28 home runs on the season, 71 RBI on the season. Basketball, everything's per game. Everything's per game. So when Janai Broome starts the game, plays 2 minutes, then never comes back, it just destroys his per game averages. It went from 19.7 points down to 18.1. 12.7 rebounds down to 11.5, 3.8 assists down to 3.5, because he's used to playing 28, 29, 32 minutes a game. Now you got a 2 minute performance that counts as a per game thing. So that's small relative to all of the, big stuff that it could mean, derailing a national championship season and a national player of the year campaign. So hopefully we get good news. And like I said, it could impact Memphis, because Memphis has only lost twice so far, once to Auburn. If you're Memphis, you want Auburn to be as good as it could possibly be, and Auburn is going to be better with Janai Broome than without Janai Broome. So if you're a Memphis fan, hope for good MRI results and that Janai Broome is back on the court soon, because once you've taken a loss to Auburn, you want that to remain as good a loss as it could be, and that involves Auburn winning as much as it can win.
Number 3.
Less than a month after the unsolved murder of JonBenet Ramsey returned to the headlines, thanks to a new Netflix documentary, John Ramsey, the father, says he received a letter from a woman saying she knows who is responsible. Did you see this? Did you watch the JonBenet documentary on Netflix?
I didn't. I've just watched so many. I didn't. Yeah.
Okay, I told you I wasn't going to, because I thought I'd watched so many too. I thought it was good.
You did? Okay.
I thought it was worth your time. If you lived through that story, I thought it was worth your time.
I'll check it out.
3 episodes. They're about an hour each. I didn't remember it this way. Looking back on it through the prism of this documentary, we were awful to that family. Awful.
As in accusing them immediately? Oh, yeah.
I mean, we had them in jail, buddy. I mean, they did mock daytime television shows on TV, like a mock jury and the whole thing, and they convicted the mother and just put her in jail, like, hypothetically.
But I got you.
The entire world was operating, this family killed their daughter. And the truth is, there's just no evidence of that. There's just none. It's a weird murder, but they did not deserve to be dragged the way they were dragged. There was no evidence that they had anything to do with this. In fact, this is some of the stuff you learn, and perhaps some of this stuff had been out there before. I either didn't know this or had forgotten it. So they run all the DNA, and very early on in the process, they get the results back, and there is a hit. They find unknown male, non-family DNA in her, and I apologize, but I'm just talking about this the way they talk about it, in her underwear. Non-family male DNA in her underwear. They find that. They could have let the public know that at any point, or just leaked it to CNN at any point, and that would have been like, okay, the family didn't do this because there's outside DNA in where it shouldn't be. Whoever that person is, that's the person who did this. And they kept that private. They didn't even tell the family.
Oh, wow.
They let the whole world continue to think these parents or somebody in that house killed this little girl. And they had real DNA evidence that suggested that's probably not true, and they sat on it. That's shameful.
Yeah.
They were convinced. It was very much, they worked backwards on it. They were convinced it happened inside this house by somebody inside this house.
Because she was in the house, yeah.
We don't know how. We don't know how. And we certainly can't prove how. But we're convinced that that's true. So we're just going to keep saying it's true. And then you keep saying, but what are you basing this on? Because it has to be true. Who else could have done this? They just convinced themselves the mom or the dad or the little brother or somebody did this, and they would never move off of that and compromise the entire investigation and drag this family through years of misery. Like, there was a time in this country where the overwhelming majority of Americans were A, aware of this story, and B, convinced the family killed this little girl.
Mm-hmm.
And there was never really any evidence to support that at all. They were never charged. You know that. They were never charged.
Right.
Everybody in the country wanted them to get charged.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, there's nothing, we cannot convict these people. There's no evidence. We can tell you we think they did it, and we still do think they did it, but there's no evidence whatsoever. So this is what's interesting now. Less than a month after this documentary is released, John Ramsey says he got a letter from a woman who says, I know who did this. It's my ex-husband. I've been holding on to this secret forever, and I can't do it anymore, not after watching this documentary. Please call me. And they haven't been able to get in touch with the woman yet. But it's just another glimmer of hope to try to bring closure to this case. The other thing you find out when watching this documentary, or at least you're reminded of this documentary, there are multiple convicted pedophiles, child abusers, who have confessed to this case, and the authorities will not accept their confession. And the main reason is because when they run the DNA that was found in the underwear, it has never matched anybody. All they know is it doesn't match anybody in the family. It's not brother, it's not mom, it's not dad. So it's somebody else's DNA in the underwear. They've never been able to match it. They have one child abuser / pedophile after another saying, I did this. And then they run the DNA and it doesn't match. And they say, well, you couldn't have done it because it's not your DNA. But what other experts say is that the whole crime scene was compromised. It's possible the DNA was compromised. And so you'll never get a hit because the evidence is compromised. So you're sitting around waiting on a hit that you're not going to get because the DNA is compromised. And there are smarter people than I who think one of the people we already know who has been a person of interest and they've already ruled out because the DNA match didn't hit, it's one of those people. That's what some people think. So there's this one guy, right, named Gary Oliva. He's a convicted pedophile. He's confessed to this. He said, I did this. He was busted with more than 300 images of JonBenet Ramsey on his computer.
Jeez.
He was in the area at the time. That's a fact. He had previously lived in Oregon. At the time of this, he lived in Boulder and was spotted going to like a homeless shelter 10 blocks from JonBenet's house. So he was in the area. They found 300 images of her on his computer. He had previously lived in Oregon and was convicted of sexually assaulting a 7-year-old neighbor in Oregon. Shortly after JonBenet was found, he told a friend in Boulder he was upset and distraught because he, quote, hurt a little girl.
Jeez.
But his DNA was not at the scene. It didn't match it. So they just ruled him out. Despite everything I just told you, they said, no, he can't be the guy. There's another guy named Randy Simons. He was a photographer who took a lot of the pictures you've seen of JonBenet Ramsey. He took them. He was caught selling them to the tabloids. He was a big part of all this. Since JonBenet's murder, he's been in a psychiatric ward. He was arrested for being nude in public. When the cops approach him, he's nude in public, disoriented. The cops approach him. Sir, are you okay? I didn't kill JonBenet. I did not do it. I didn't kill her. What? Nobody? What are you talking about? I did not kill JonBenet, right? They put him in a psychiatric ward. He's now been in prison for child porn. They ruled him out because they couldn't get a DNA match. All right?
Damn.
There's another guy named John Mark Carr. He's confessed to this. He has said things, he's told authorities things about JonBenet that the family has said there's no way he could have known that unless he was like here, close to the family. This guy said, I knew JonBenet and I was close to the family. And they're like, it sounds like he must have because he shouldn't know these things, but he does. He knew things about her he shouldn't know. Family nicknames and stuff. He's confessed to the murder. He was communicating with authorities and John Ramsey about JonBenet Ramsey, acknowledging he did this. He's the one responsible. He wanted a specific image of JonBenet. They said, we'll send it to you. Just tell us where to send it to. He gave him like a post office box or something. It was in Bangkok. They send the image. He goes and picks it up. They arrest him when he picks it up. They find out it's this guy, John Mark Carr, who used to be in Boulder, but was now living in Bangkok because he was evading authorities because of child pornography charges that were coming. He had to get out of the country, so he went to Bangkok.
Wow.
These are all real people that have been just completely ruled out because the DNA doesn't hit the right way. But again, there's smart people saying, well, the DNA's compromised, and that's why it's not going to hit the right way. I don't know, but here's what I would guess. Very amateur opinion after watching a Netflix documentary. I bet you the person that killed JonBenet Ramsey is somebody they have already looked at and let go because the DNA didn't hit exactly. I bet it's somebody they already know and they've already talked to and they've already looked at, and they just ruled it out because the DNA didn't hit the right way. But I don't know. That's just based off of nothing more than like 3 hours of documentary watching.
Number 4.
We touched on it with Vernon, so I won't spend much time on it here. But the showdown between Scottie Scheffler, Roy McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, and Brooks Koepka was on TNT yesterday. Out in Las Vegas, beautiful course, beautiful backdrop, primetime golf, 4 of the best golfers and most well-known golfers in the world. Charles Barkley on the microphone, and I could not have been more bored. It was terrible. Nothing interesting happened.
I told you I wasn't looking forward to it.
Well, congratulations on skipping it. The golf was bad. The commentary was boring. The back and forth was nothing. And you're reminded, first off, it got cold. I don't know if people know this about Las Vegas. You think of the desert and warm. I've been to Vegas in December. It gets cold at night. It got cold relative to what they're used to. If you start watching them, there's like one moment where Rory's got like 210 into a green. That's nothing for Roy McIlroy, all right? He's 20 yards short. The ball just doesn't carry in this weather the way they're used to. They were leaving putts 4 and 5 feet short. You're like, what is going on? When it's cold, everything changes. And they never play in cold weather. And then you're reminded Brooks and Bryson haven't played in a live event since September. Like they haven't played in 2 months, competitive golf. So you're playing competitive golf for the first time in 2 months. You're playing in temperatures that really change. It'd be like if you saw an NBA game and they changed the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They took a little air out of it or put too much air in it or moved the rim up a half an inch. These very minimal changes, but if you had a rim that was a quarter of an inch off, Steph Curry would notice that within 5 seconds. You wouldn't notice it. he would notice it within seconds. Such a small thing, he could look at it and be like, that doesn't look right to me. I look at this every day for hours. That doesn't look right. Now imagine in golf, you've got 180 out, and that's an 8-iron for you every day. But suddenly that 8-iron, you're now hitting at 171 because you're playing in temperatures you're not used to playing in. So the golf was bad. The commentary was boring. Everything about it was just like, I am not interested in this. It took everything I had not to change the channel. I kept waiting for something interesting, and it never happened. They'll have to rethink how they do this because the way they did it last night, it did not work.
Yeah,
did not work
it's not for me. It's not for me.
Well,
I wasn't a fan of the previous ones.
Okay, well, if it, I get it not being for you, but what it's supposed to be is for me.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be for Vernon, and it just wasn't. And
like,
I think
what was the good? What was the good one?
They've had some with Tiger and Phil, and those were fun because you go into it, and I think Tiger and Phil really had a rivalry.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you'd bring in a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning, and you'd have some back and forth
Goat
there.
talk.
Aaron Rodgers. Those were always, there was something compelling about it, but this was just 4 of the best golfers in the world, kind of boring personalities. It was one thing when you could bill it as Live versus PGA, and they tried to do that last night. But what we now know is like Live and the PGA Tour, they don't hate each other anymore. They're actively figuring out how to work together. And it's one thing when Roy McIlroy is saying, you're taking blood money, you scumbag. But he softened his stance so much on that.
Yeah.
And they don't all seem to hate each other the way they did when this breakup was initially happening. Just whatever they were hoping would be there just wasn't there. And I was bored out of my mind. So I'm not saying don't ever do it again, but they better figure out a better way to do it because the way they did do it, it didn't register with anybody. If I'm bored and Vernon's bored, you got a product problem.
Number 5.
Hope you got your holiday shopping done, Bennett. If not, you still got a little bit of time. And Tom Holland and Zendaya were probably trying to take advantage of that yesterday because they were spotted at Nordstrom's out in Southern California. And this has created international headlines from TMZ to the Daily Mail. Tom Holland and Zendaya at Nordstrom's getting some Christmas shopping done the week before the fat man comes down the chimney. First off, do you like Tom Holland and Zendaya? They seem like the most normal young Hollywood couple in the world. They just seem so delightful, and every time I see them, I find an appreciation for them. You like those? Those two?
I'm a big fan of both. Yes,
I am too. They seem like I feel like I would like them. I feel like if I happened to get seated next to them at a restaurant, I'd enjoy their presence.
I think so. I think I want to believe that.
So as I'm watching these, and these pictures pop up, and it's like, look, there's Tom Holland and Zendaya being very normal. As if it's impossible to be very normal if you're as famous as them. But I just sort of look at those pictures, and it reminds me that our view of everything we consume out of Hollywood is so distorted. Like, you can live that life if you want to. Like, if you want to be a relatively private person, even as famous as Zendaya, those are A-list young Hollywood stars, right? Zendaya and Tom Holland. They should be the centerpiece of what TMZ is looking for. That's everything else TMZ is. It's young Hollywood stars, reality show people. But why isn't it Zendaya and Tom Holland, 2 of the most famous, young, beautiful, accomplished people in Hollywood? Why do we never see them? Because there's nothing to it. Because they don't call and tell you where they're going to be. Because, you might spot them at Nordstrom's if you happen to be at Nordstrom's, but they're not letting you know what they're doing every single minute of every day. So guess what? You don't know what they're doing every single minute of every day. The idea that the paparazzi is just sitting out there in California waiting on every star to make every move just isn't true. That's a very small amount of people really can't go somewhere because of the paparazzi. Typically, when you see these big spectacles, it's because the cameras were tipped off. And the people who are saying, get those cameras out of my face, they wanted those cameras there. Like, I saw one where, oh, God. It was some woman who's been in the news the other day. And it was, some reality star. You might know her. I only know her from every time I click on TMZ, her and her estranged husband just had the cops called. The cops are coming to their house every day. I think they live in Georgia. And they were reality show people, and cops are constantly getting caught. So this woman clearly is walking out of LAX, and there's a camera waiting on her. And they're like, oh, hey, funny to see you here. You were just lead story TMZ yesterday. You fighting with your husband again. So what's going on there? And they're talking to this woman. Now, do you really think that just happened?
No.
No, they said, hey, she's going to land at this time. She'll walk out of this door. If you care about talking to her, be there. That's the way this stuff works. And evidence that that's the way this stuff works is that Tom Holland and Zendaya live in Southern California and live their life every day, and you never hear really anything about them, ever, and you never see them. Unless you happen to bump into them at Nordstrom's. And people think it's so crazy that they were at Nordstrom's. But their life is probably so normal relative to what you think it is that it didn't seem crazy to them at all to go to Nordstrom's. And, like, who doesn't need to go to Nordstrom's or something like that? It's weird to think that famous people should never, like, it'd be crazy to see. Like, I don't care how famous you get. You're going to have to stop at Walgreens at some point, right?
Yeah.
Like, no matter how famous you are, you're going to have to pop into CVS at some point. You're going to need some double active Advil, a half a gallon of milk. Famous people aren't immune to just popping into a Walgreens or a Nordstrom's or stuff like that. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah.
So let's stop making it like a big deal, and let's let people live the way they live. I like seeing Tom Holland and Zendaya being normal. In fact, the opposite is the weirder thing to me. I've told this story before. Danny Granger used to work with us at CBS Sports Network, and he used to be teammates with Chris Humphries in somewhere. And he said one time, Chris Humphries was like, hey, what are you and your wife doing whatever night? He was like, nothing. What's up? He's like, well, I'm dating somebody new. We're going to go out. Why don't you guys get dinner with us? Cool, we'll go. Didn't even really ask any more questions than that. Shows up for dinner. It's Chris Humphries and Kim Kardashian, right? Danny said him and his wife and Kim and Chris walk into the restaurant. They park their car, walk in. It's nothing. Sit at the table. It's nothing. Everything is the most normal thing you could imagine. By the time they got done with dinner and walked outside, you couldn't see. It was 10 cameras in their faces. He's like, that somebody told them, you come here. And he was like, we didn't really, that was not our speed. It was a weird thing to be a part of. But it was, the night got normal until somebody told somebody else to make it not normal. And then it got super weird. That's the way that stuff works. Zendaya and Tom Holland trying to live a different life. I approve of them. And I look forward to season whatever of Euphoria.
Me too.
That's upcoming, and whatever Tom Holland's doing next, I'm sure it'll be great. Be back with GP's Carryout.
Southland Casino Hotel is helping you navigate to Santa. Win your share of up to $340,000 in free play or a 2024 Lincoln Navigator. Here Comes Santa kicks off November 24th. Get one free entry and earn additional entries for weekly Saturday drawings. Don't forget the grand finale drawing on Saturday, December 21st to win up to $5,000 in free play or a 2024 Lincoln Navigator. Win big during Here Comes Santa, only at Southland Casino Hotel.
Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help quoting, call 800-522-4700. Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing compares to catching your Grizzlies IRL. And that all starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight. Put that jersey collection to use for the next game and get Grizzlies tickets at Ticketmaster. Whether they're here at FedEx Forum or on the road, Ticketmaster's got your back when it comes to scoring tickets. And there's no better brag than saying you saw it live.
Get the squad together for this year's Junior Grizzlies 3-on-3 tournament. Presented by 2K at the Built Ford Tough practice facility inside FedEx Forum. On Saturday, January 4th, teams will compete in 3 games before advancing to single elimination play. Overall winners from the 10 and under, 12 and under, and 14 and under divisions will win Grizzlies tickets, including exclusive access to the pregame team shoot-around before the Grizz take on the Pelicans January 24th. Sign up today at hoopitup.com/Grizzlies.
Grizzlies are just having fun out there tonight. Morant around a screen, bumped by Wagner. No look to Smart, lays it up on the window and in, and it is all Grizz. The Grizzlies have the fans on their feet at FedEx Forum.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Welcome back, Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South. I'm in New York City. In studio tonight, CBS Sports Network. We got a doubleheader, including Alabama at North Dakota. If you're wondering why a program the stature of Alabama would be playing a road game at North Dakota, it's a fair question. They got a player named Grant Nelson. He is from North Dakota, so this is Nate Oates' way of giving him a home game, taking him back to his home state to play North Dakota tonight. So I'll be in studio, CBS Sports Network. Check that out if you get a chance. Let's wrap this up with GP's Carryout.
It's time for GP's Carryout. One final segment filled with stuff to take with you. It's not everything you need to know, but it's most of it. What did we learn today?
A whole bunch of stuff, but in the opening hour, we mostly focused on the NBA Cup and the revamped NBA All-Star Game. NBA Cup, second annual, came to a conclusion last night after the Lakers won it in year one. After the Lakers won it in year one, the Bucks win it in year two. I saw this last night, Big Ben Bennett. Did you see Darvin Ham and Taurean Prince are now the only two people in the world who have won multiple NBA Cups. They won it last year with the Lakers, and now they're both members of the Milwaukee Bucks. Darvin Ham and Taurean Prince, two-time NBA Cup winners.
Okay.
You can use that as a trivia time, Bennett. At one of your
nice memory to have. Yeah, good for those guys.
If you find yourself at a holiday party anytime soon and you want a trivia time, a stranger, say, who are the only two people to win multiple NBA Cups? Answers, Darvin Ham and Taurean Prince. Revamped All-Star Game, I don't know if it'll work, but it's worth a try because the stuff they've been doing hasn't worked at all. I get Kevin Durant, where he's coming from, I guess, but if I'm Adam Silver, I don't know that I'd like my star players just crapping on everything we try to do. Buddy, if you wanted it to be East and West, so did I. We had it that way. But we had to change it because you wouldn't try. You wouldn't play. You wouldn't compete. So now we're just scrambling, trying to figure out one way to get you multi-bazillionaires to compete and play and create a compelling product for these television networks that are paying us billions of dollars. One day they might say, we don't want to pay for this anymore if nobody's going to care and nobody's going to watch it. So it'd be great if you'd start caring so people would keep watching it. And that's why we're trying to tinker with it to see if we can find a winning combination. So keep an open mind, or else we'll all pay with our pocketbooks someday. I don't know why the players don't understand that, but they don't seem to understand that, and we'll probably be arguing about the NBA All-Star Game right up until the point to when they get rid of it.
What's today's biggest game?
College basketball, your 21st ranked Memphis Tigers are on the road inside John Paul Jones Arena, Charlottesville, Virginia. They're playing the 2019 national champions, the Virginia Cavaliers. Oh, that seems like a million years ago now. Virginia's 6-4 on the season under interim coach Ron Sanchez after Tony Bennett retired. Just before the start of things, Memphis is a 4.5-point favorite tonight. Totals 129.5. Bennett, it's a quadrant 2 opportunity. When you schedule a game like at Virginia, you're hoping it's a quadrant 1, but Virginia not holding up their end of the deal. So it's a quad 2 opportunity. Tigers laid in 4.5. How are you going to act?
Give me the Tigers.
Bennett said lay the 4.5 with
Tigers.
PJ Haggerty and Tyrese Hunter. You wouldn't want to break back into the rankings and then lose to a Virginia team that's been disappointing this season. In the preseason, you'd look at the roster and be like, I don't know why they're going to be good, but they got Tony Bennett, so I guess that's enough. But when you take Tony Bennett away from the roster, then you just got a not good roster without Tony Bennett, and that's why Virginia is now 6-4. with losses to Tennessee, St. John's, Florida, and SMU. No terrible losses in there, or at least no losses to sub-50 KenPom teams, and they do got to win over Villanova, but this is not a good Virginia team. It's not a Virginia team that looks like it's headed to the NCAA tournament. They are 100th at KenPom right now. Memphis, 4.5-point favorite. Let's see if they can knock it out and then come back home. Mississippi State on CBS on Saturday inside FedEx Forum.
What are we watching on TV?
I spent probably more time on the JonBenet Ramsey documentary than any other sports talk show in the country today. So if you haven't watched that yet, even as somebody who, first off, if you've never really followed the story or too young to live through it, it's interesting. It's worth your time. Even if you lived through it, and that was my hesitation, I know everything there is about this case. Why do I need to watch another documentary? But I either learned some things or were reminded of some things that I had forgotten. I thought it was really good. And the big takeaway is, buddy, we treated this family really poorly in what is the biggest nightmare any family could ever imagine. Just if your little girl is murdered in your home and they immediately catch the person who did it and charge them, convict them, and put them in jail forever, that is still a nightmare and the worst day of your life. Think about how much worse it is when somebody murders your little girl in your own home and the whole country thinks it's you. It's not, but the whole country thinks it's you. Whoa, that's a nightmare on top of a nightmare, to lose your little girl and people think you're responsible for it. So I came out of it being reminded that the evidence didn't support any of that at all, and hopeful that maybe there will be a breakthrough for this case to bring closure to the family. And in some ways, that entire Boulder community that still lives with this in many ways. The documentary is worth your time. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's still in the top 10 at Netflix, I believe.
What's the best thing we've read?
At CBS Sports right now on the homepage, they have a list of the 24, I want to make sure I label it correctly, 24 most impactful stories of 2024. What do you think number one is, Bennett? What was the most impactful sports story of 2024?
Probably something with Caitlin Clark.
It should be. That was the right answer. I don't think I was polled for this. Caitlin Clark came in at number 2. Caitlin Clark takes WNBA storm in rookie season. That was considered the second most impactful story in sports in 2024. Number 1 was the Kansas City Chiefs repeat as Super Bowl champions. I just don't think that was impactful. The Chiefs went, if I'd have been involved in these conversations, I would have argued against this. What was impactful about the Chiefs winning a second straight Super Bowl? It didn't change the NFL.
No.
What did it do? How did it impact anything? It impacted Patrick Mahomes' legacy, Travis Kelce's legacy, Andy Reid's legacy. But Caitlin Clark changed a sport.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark changed a sport, changed the league, changed the way we talk about a sport and a league. Then nobody in sports made as big of an impact in 2024 as Caitlin Clark did. I don't even think you could argue that sensibly in the other direction. But that's not where the CBS Sports list starts. It starts with the Chiefs. Caitlin Clark, number 2. You can see all 24, cbssports.com.
What's on tap for tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow will be Thursday. We'll get you ready for Warriors Grizzlies inside FedEx Forum. Tickets available, grizzlies.com. Mike Wallace will join me in the first hour. He'll help us get ready. Should be a fun show. Looking forward to it. Wish I could do it right now, but we'll have to wait 22 hours and a little change. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll enjoy mine. We'll meet back here tomorrow at 10. Till then, be careful, be kind, be good. Rep your hood.
This month's 191 Collabs, presented by Hennessy, is bringing Grizz Nation an all-star matchup it won't want to miss. Renowned fashion designer Prep Curry and Grizzlies forward Jaren Jackson Jr. have teamed up for a 6-piece collection that's as eclectic and unique as the city they both call home. These limited edition threads won't last long and are only available on FedEx Forum Thursday, December 19th, when the Grizzlies take on the Golden State Warriors at 7 o'clock. Buy your tickets today at Ticketmaster.com or the FedEx Forum box office.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals takes it straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
Sonic Radio. Welcome back to Sonic RNDIO. That spells radio with me, the CIO. This just in, the new Sonic $1.99 menu lets you build a crave-worthy meal for just $1.99 an item, whether that's a creamy shake, crispy tots, or a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. This just out. Ostriches. They're mean, not very cute, and in my opinion, way too big for a bird. Don't miss the Sonic Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99.